All right, it's an absolutely beautiful day here in South Louisiana, which has Joel and me wondering why we didn't go fishing today. But sometimes you have to engage in a little bit of education so you make future fishing trips more productive. And that's the goal for today. As you can see, we're at a pool. And our intention today is to figure one thing out. If you've watched my recent videos, you know that Joel has been absolutely on fire, killing the fish. Well, he employs a technique known down here in South Louisiana as the Pontchartrain pop. The reason it's called that is because a lot of anglers who fish Lake Pontchartrain use this technique and they have great success doing it. Basically what it is after you cast, let your lure fall, you give your bait kind of a triple pop and then let it settle again. And usually the bites come when you go to pick that bait up again after it has settled to the bottom. Well, the technique works best with either monofilament or fluorocarbon because both those lines have some stretch. Obviously, braided line does not have stretch. So when you go and do that triple pop, that lure is moving a whole lot. And on a recent trip, I tried to mimic Joel's actual bait action as best I could using braided line, but he still caught more fish than I did. So we wanted to get into the pool and see how that bait looks during a Pontchartrain pop and compare it to how it looks the way I fish with braid. But I'm gonna go with my natural cadence. Joel's gonna go with his using the Pontchartrain pop, and we're gonna show you and show us how those baits look using the different techniques.
All right, so what I've been catching a lot of fish on lately is a green hornet matrix shad on a 1/4 ounce death grip jig head, and this has been deadly effective. We're gonna show you right now what it looks like with the technique I like to use.
All right, here you can see Joel doing the Pontchartrain pop, and in a moment you'll see what it makes the lure do underwater, thanks to me following dutifully along with the camera. All right, you can definitely see that triple motion on each pop. The lure doesn't really fall after each twitch, but it definitely pauses. It also remains elevated off the bottom for a longer period of time, which keeps the bait in the strike zone. And when we slow things down, you can really see the momentary pause between each twitch. You've got to figure that's enticing to the fish. All right, now I've been fishing an identical setup to Joel's, except for one thing. I've been throwing this matrix shad, I've been throwing different colors, but I got it on a 1/4 ounce death grip jig head, got 12-pound fluoro line, but just for a leader. I've got it tied via a double uni knot to 30-pound braid. And obviously that makes that lure look a lot different on the bottom compared to how he's throwing it. But we're gonna see how different it looks right now. All right, this gives you an idea of my natural cadence. Pretty much just picking the lure up and letting it fall. All right, fishing my technique, the lure definitely spends less time off the bottom and it doesn't move as far horizontally. It hasn't worked for me lately, but that could be a feature rather than a bug when fishing specific structure like bridge pilings or a shell reef. All right, and the slow motion just confirms what we saw in the regular speed, but man, I gotta say that matrix shad looks good. All right, now to compare apples to apples, I'm gonna have Joel fish his technique with my gear, and I'm gonna fish my technique with his gear. This ought to be very enlightening. All right, as I expected, the Pontchartrain pop with braided line just makes that lure move way too much. It doesn't mean it wouldn't be effective, particularly in periods when fish are extremely active, but day in and day out, it's just too much. All right, I'm chasing everything with a camera, a GoPro, mounted on my H&H push pole, and I literally had trouble keeping up with it. Absolutely. I mean, I suspected this, but Joel fishing that technique with braided line moves that lure way more than it does when he's using his fluoro. I'm curious to see the underwater footage when we get home and check it out. But now I'm gonna throw his 12-pound fluoro main line, but I'm gonna fish it the way that I normally fish with my braid so we can see how it looks. All right, I have to admit to being a little surprised here My standard technique doesn't look substantially different with fluoro than it did with braid. Perhaps the hops are a little lower and the horizontal movement a little less, but that's picking nits. All right, so now 1/4 ounce is what we've been throwing a lot lately, but obviously not every situation calls for that much or that little weight on the jig head. So just to see how changing the jig head weight affects how that lure looks, we're each gonna go with our techniques with a 1/8 and a 3/8 ounce jig head, just to compare and contrast.
All right, so I got an 1/8 ounce jig head on right here. We'll see how it looks with the technique that I like to use.
All right, with the lighter weight, you can still see that pause between each pop. And the lure darts and dances more, almost like a fluke or Senko. Now here's my technique with a 1/8 ounce. All right, as you can see, my lure is staying in the strike zone considerably longer than it was with the 1/4 ounce. It's not exactly surprising, but it makes me wonder if it would have increased my bite percentage the day Joel was really killing me. I suspect it would have.
All right, so right here I got a 3/8 ounce death grip. Same green hornet. We're gonna see how this looks in the pool.
All right, with the heavier weight, the lure definitely doesn't move as much vertically or horizontally. Again, this could be a good thing when fishing specific structure that's not very big or in days with big tidal ranges. Even still, you can definitely see the pauses. All right, I noticed something here I've noted in previous pool videos. 3/8 ounce jig heads provide tail action on both the hop and the fall. So although the lure spends less time in the strike zone, it might get a fish's attention on the way down. Man, such an educational experience. But pool videos almost always are. There's just something about getting cameras underwater to see what those fish see, to help you to understand what your lure is doing based on what you're doing with your rod. I just love them and I can't wait to do the next one. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the Marshman Masson channel on YouTube. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. And until next time, if we don't see you in the marsh, we'll see you right here on Marshman Masson.